She laughed at me in front of my parents. They cheered her on. My wife humiliated me at the table I paid for in the house I kept running after years of carrying them all. I sat there stunned, a decade of sacrifice turned into a public joke. Then after dinner I found in her phone that broke me. They didn't T-stop. I don't even know how to start this without getting angry all over again. I just want to say right away, this isn't about one bad dinner. This is about a slow, silent betrayal that exploded in one night. A night I'll never forget. So this was last Saturday. We were having dinner at my parents' place, me, my wife Jenna, my dad, my mom, and my younger brother Kyle. My parents are both retired teachers, strict, methodical, and emotionally distant as hell. Growing up with them felt like living in a classroom that never let out. You got graded for everything: attitude, performance, even emotions. You weren't allowed to cry unless it was justified. They loved to correct you in public. Praise? That was rationed like wartime sugar. Criticism? Free-flowing and often public. I thought that maybe after I moved out and started helping them financially, the dynamic would change. But clearly, I was delusional. Anyway, back to dinner. It was supposed to be a simple night. Just family catching up. Jenna and I had been going through a rough patch, but nothing that screamed public blow-up. We've been married 5 years. Not perfect, but I thought we were aligned on basics: respect, loyalty, keep private issues private. Wrong. Things went south fast. Jenna and I got into a minor disagreement in the car on the way over about how I handled a conversation with our landlord. It was about rent adjustment. I had taken initiative to negotiate it down a bit since I've been covering a lot of bills lately, and she said I made her look like she couldn't contribute. I told her I wasn't trying to undermine her, it was just business. We dropped it. Or so I thought. Cut to dinner. My mom was already being her usual judgmental self, asking Jenna how many hours she was working now that she was only freelancing, followed by a jab about how real stability is hard to come by these days. My dad chuckled. That's their dynamic. Constant little digs hidden as curiosity. Jenna, for once, didn't brush it off. She turned to my mom and said, "Well, at least I'm not constantly depending on my son's money to stay afloat. You should ask your son how much he's done for you." Silence. I froze mid-bite. Everyone else did too. Then she kept going. "Actually, maybe you should thank him for keeping the lights on here. For covering your property tax last year. Or was that supposed to stay a secret, babe?" She looked straight at me like she was daring me to say something. My stomach dropped. I had covered a few of their bills. Quietly. Without asking for anything back. Because they were my parents. Because I believed, stupidly, that one day they'd recognize the effort. But Jenna throwing it out there like that? That felt like betrayal number 1. Then came betrayal number 2. My mom narrowed her eyes and said, "Oh, so that's what this is about? You think buying a few groceries and paying a few bills makes you untouchable?" Then my dad chimed in with, "We didn't ask him to do that. He's always been dramatic. We never expected anything. He just inserted himself." I laughed. Out loud. I couldn't help it. Inserted myself? I said, "You asked me to co-sign the car loan when you couldn't qualify. You called me crying when the heating went out. Who fixed that? Who paid the guy?" My mom waved her hand like I was exaggerating. "You always keep score. That's your problem. No one asked you to be a martyr." And then Jenna said this. "He does that at home too. Makes himself the victim every time I disagree with him. Always talks about how much he does, how tired he is, how alone he feels. Maybe you should stop playing savior and start listening." My jaw literally dropped. I couldn't believe she just turned the whole table against me. I looked at her like she was a stranger. My brother Kyle? Said nothing. Just kept eating. The whole room was against me and acting like I was the problem. Over the last 8 years, I've helped my parents out of a dozen financial holes. I paid for the plumbing repair they ignored until the basement flooded. I fronted the money for my dad's dental surgery because their Medicare wouldn't cover it. I even gave Kyle $2,000 last year to cover a business investment that turned out to be a failed crypto gamble. I never brought it up. I never used it against them. Because that's what family does, right? Apparently not. That night was like a carefully timed ambush. I found out later from a neighbor that my parents had been complaining to them about me for months. Saying I was controlling, that I lorded money over them, and that Jenna deserved better. I confronted Jenna about it the next day. She didn't deny anything. Just said she snapped because she was tired of feeling like I didn't respect her decisions. Respect? This is the same woman who hadn't held a consistent job in 2 years but refused to talk about budgeting. The same woman who bought a $400 espresso machine for mental health while I was cutting back lunches at work to save for emergencies. I asked her if she planned that moment. She said no, but I don't regret it. I haven't spoken to my parents since. I blocked them that night. They haven't even tried to reach out. Just silence. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I feel like I've been robbed not just of respect but of basic human decency. I gave these people everything. And they lined up behind my wife to humiliate me at the dinner table like I was some stranger begging for attention. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the dark staring at the kitchen floor, replaying the dinner over and over like some sick movie scene that never ends. I kept thinking there's no way she said that in front of them. No way they agreed. But she did. And they did. The worst part? The moment she exposed how much have helped my parents financially, she looked satisfied. Like she wanted to hit me where it hurt. And she knew exactly where that was. I remember thinking, what changed? When did this start? So I started digging. Literally. Opened up the shared laptop, scrolled through her browser history. I never do that. I've never had a reason to. But that night, I felt like I was married to someone who could lie without flinching. So yeah, I checked. What I found made my stomach twist. Reddit posts. Lots of them. Relationship advice subs, venting forums, anonymous threads. All from accounts I didn't recognize, but the stories? They mirrored ours exactly. Right down to the number of years married, no kids, she freelances, he's controlling with money, she feels suffocated, he's obsessed with being the provider. Except in every version of her story, I'm the bad guy. She made me sound like a narcissist with a spreadsheet for a soul. Like I was monitoring her spending, controlling where she went, what she wore, who she talked to. And that's just not true. I handle most bills, yes. I suggested budgeting, yes. But she refused to even look at the numbers. Said money talk stresses her out. I asked her about these posts the next morning. She didn't deny it. Those are just venting, she said. You do the same with your friends. I don't. And even if I did, I'd never paint her as some gold-digging victim while soaking up the benefits of what I provide. That's when I noticed something weird. She wasn't apologizing. No backpedaling. No, I messed up. No, I shouldn't have said that in front of your parents. She doubled down. I said what I needed to say. You've been treating me like an assistant, not a wife. It was time someone else heard it. Someone else? My parents? The same people who once told me I wasn't leadership material because I didn't want to become a teacher like them? The people who treated me like a case study instead of a kid? That dinner wasn't an outburst. It was a setup. A coordinated moment between my wife and my parents where I was the lesson. After that, things started clicking. Over the past 6 months, Jenna had slowly been spending more weekends working at coffee shops. She used to invite me. Lately? Always solo? She started hanging out with this guy named Mason, met him through a co-working group. Graphic designer. Funny, smart, just a friend. I even met him once. He shook my hand with that fake confidence you see in people who already think they know more than you. I brought up Mason during the argument. You spending a lot of time with your friend lately? I said. And she laughed. Don't start that. If I wanted to cheat, I'd pick someone less obvious. That wasn't a denial. That was... I don't even know what that was. So yeah, I got suspicious. Again. I went into detective mode. I pulled up phone records. Text history. Some numbers were saved, some weren't. One number showed up nearly every day for the last 2 months. Morning. Lunch. Late at night. Always short calls. 5, 10 minutes. So I called it. Blocked number. The guy answered. Hello? I didn't say anything. He said Jenna. I hung up. That's when I really started to unravel. The betrayal at dinner was bad enough. But now I didn't even know who I was married to anymore. I started replaying the entire last year through a new lens. Every argument suddenly felt rehearsed. Every time I tried to talk about money, it became a character attack on me. When I got promoted and got a bonus in January, she said I was acting cocky just because I suggested we finally save for a house. She didn't want a house. She wanted distance. And now I think I know why. That same day, I went to my parents' place. They didn't even act like anything happened. My mom asked if I was feeling better and handed me leftover casserole like I was a child with a fever. I didn't take the bait. You guys sided with her, I said. My dad, without looking up from the TV, just said, she made some good points. I asked them, point blank, do you think I'm controlling? My mom actually tilted her head and said, you can be intense. Intense. I repeated. Is paying your bills intense? Is giving you $5,000 last year when you were behind on mortgage payments intense? My dad said, you threw that in our face. That's manipulative. I lost it. I told them I was done. No more bills. No more visits. No more pretending this was a family when all they've ever done is compare me to people I'm not and punish me for being the only one who shows up. And I walked out. Back home, Jenna wasn't there. She didn't text me that night. Or the next day. When she finally did, it was a one-line message. Let me know if you want to talk when you're calm. Calm? That message felt like gasoline on a fire. So I didn't respond. I spent the next few days just existing. Numb. Quiet. And then, on Thursday, I saw something I can't unsee. A notification popped up on the shared iPad. She forgot to log out of her email. It was an email to Mason. The subject line, "It's happening." I didn't open it. Took me 2 days to open that email. The one with the subject line, "It's happening." I kept telling myself maybe it wasn't what I thought. Maybe it was about a work thing. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it wasn't even Mason. But deep down, I knew exactly what it was. I finally opened it around midnight on a Friday. I hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night all week, and I think my brain just gave up. I tapped it open like I was defusing a bomb. Inside it said, "He's cracking. Last night he called me a stranger to my face. I'm giving it another week. Then I'm staying at your place. Don't text unless it's signal. I'll tell you when it's safe. We're almost there. I can't wait to not walk on eggshells anymore." There it was. Proof. She was planning to leave. Not only leave, but transition directly into another man's home. And not just any man. A guy she swore was just a work friend. It was all happening behind my back. And I was being played like a clueless prop in her little story. She was waiting for the right moment. Planning her exit like it was a project timeline. I didn't even get a voice in it. Just a countdown I didn't know I was part of. And I lost it. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I packed my stuff, not hers. I cleared out the essentials, documents, clothes, backup drives, my laptop, my spare phone. I even took the passport just in case. I booked a room at a hotel 20 minutes out of town. And then I sent one message. "Go stay at Mason's. I'm done." Then I turned my phone off. I didn't care where she went. She could move into a closet with him for all I cared. What I didn't expect was how quickly she would react. Within an hour, my phone blew up. Missed calls, texts, emails. Her number. Mason's number. Even my mom tried calling me. I stayed dark. Until the next day, when Jenna showed up at the hotel lobby. She must have tracked the charge to our joint account. She stood at the front desk, asking for me like we were newlyweds on vacation. The clerk looked at me across the lobby with that awkward face like, should I say something? I walked out. She followed. And for the next 10 minutes, I got a front row seat to the Jenna Show version 3.0, damage control. First she was angry. "Are you serious right now? You just left." Then defensive. "You misread that email." Then victim mode. "I was scared of how you'd react. You're unpredictable when you're upset." Unpredictable? I hadn't even raised my voice to her in 6 years. I let her talk. I wanted to see if she'd even mention Mason by name. She didn't. So I did. I read the emails. I saw the messages. "I know." She froze. No more spin. No more damage control. Just silence. Then she said something I'll never forget. "So what now? You're just walking away without a conversation." I laughed. Like a real bitter laugh. "A conversation? You already made your plan. You just forgot to loop me in." She looked away. I asked her straight up, "How long?" No answer. I asked again, "How long has this been going on?" She mumbled, "Since January." That was 8 months ago. 8 months of pretending, lying, acting. 8 months of making me feel like the difficult one. "You don't even seem that surprised," she said quietly. And I wasn't. Not anymore. I told her I wasn't angry. Not in that moment. I was just done. She could have Mason. She could have my parents. She could have whoever wanted to believe her side of the story. But she couldn't have me anymore. Then came the kicker. She said, "So are you going to make this ugly now?" I blinked. "You made it ugly. I'm just cleaning up." And I walked back into the hotel. I stayed off the radar for a few days after that. Just work and sleep. I didn't respond to messages. Didn't explain anything to anyone. I just needed quiet. But when I finally turned my phone back on, there was a message from my mom. I heard what happened. You need to be mature about this. Jenna is still family. I almost dropped the phone. Still family? The woman who publicly humiliated me, painted me as some controlling husband, ran a secret exit plan with another man, and emotionally detached herself from me months ago, and now my mom wanted me to be mature? I didn't respond. I got another message 2 hours later from my dad. We all make mistakes. Don't burn bridges over a bad week. A bad week? Try a premeditated exit plan with a side of gaslighting and family betrayal. I was stunned, but not surprised. That's when I realized my parents never really cared about my well-being. They cared about keeping the idea of a tidy, socially acceptable family. Jenna played into that idea. She was articulate, polite, emotionally composed. She made them look good. So of course they chose her. I didn't hear from Jenna for 4 days. Then came a formal email. Hey, we should talk about next steps. Living situation, finances, logistics. Professional tone. No emotion. Just business. Exactly what she accused me of being like. I wasn't grieving anymore. I wasn't shocked. If she wanted logistics, she was going to get them. 3 days after her email, I met with a lawyer. Nothing fancy. Just a clean office, 2 chairs, 1 honest conversation. I laid everything out, the dinner, the sabotage, the emails, the affair. Told him I wasn't interested in revenge, just resolution. I wanted out. He nodded slowly and said, it's already complicated. You might want to be prepared for it to get worse before it gets better. He wasn't wrong. The next day, I filed to freeze our joint accounts. I didn't wipe them, I just locked them. Standard procedure. I also pulled our shared credit report and flagged 2 things. A store card opened 3 months ago that I didn't recognize. A $9,300 charge at a furniture store 2 towns over. I called the store. Guess who bought a full bedroom set last month for the guest room? Yeah, it wasn't for our guest room. I showed the receipt to the lawyer. He nodded again. Now we know why she was so calm in that email. She thought you'd roll over. That same day, I started quietly separating my stuff. She was still staying at our apartment. Guess Mason hadn't rolled out the welcome mat just yet. I wasn't about to walk back into a place that smelled like lies and fake apologies. Then out of nowhere, Jenna emailed again. Subject, let's meet at the apartment. I'll be civil if you are. Civil? I agreed. But I brought backup. My friend Marcus, quiet guy, very composed, came with me and waited downstairs. I walked into that apartment like a man entering a crime scene. Jenna was standing in the kitchen wearing the necklace I bought her for our 4th anniversary. Funny how small things hit harder than big ones. She started with her favorite tactic, being composed. I just want to divide things fairly. No drama. I sat down. That's fine. But first I need to ask you something. She looked up guarded. What? Why the furniture? Why the bedroom set? Were you planning to live with him before you even left? Long pause. Then she gave me the dumbest, most insulting line I've ever heard. I was thinking of renting a studio and needed a change. I laughed. You spent almost 10 grand on a studio guest room set? She didn't answer. So I leaned in. You know what I think? I think Mason isn't as committed as you thought. I think you bought that furniture to look like you were building a future with him and now he's backing off. That hit her. I saw it in her face. She went from calm to rattled in 2 seconds. You don't know anything about my relationship, she snapped. Exactly, I said. Because you kept it hidden while sleeping in my bed and eating off my salary. She tried to pivot. Well, maybe if you hadn't been so focused on work all the time, I wouldn't have felt so alone. That was the moment I realized something. She genuinely thought this would all just smooth over. She really believed that cheating, lying, publicly humiliating me, emotionally dismantling our marriage, and siphoning money for her backup plan wasn't that bad. So I pulled out the USB stick I brought, laid it on the table. What's that? She asked. It's your browser history, your email, your texts to Mason, and screenshots of your new mattress delivery, your lease application, and your posts on private forums complaining about how I emotionally neglect you. Her face changed again. This wasn't anger. This was fear. You went through my stuff. I didn't need to. You left the digital trail yourself. All I did was follow it. She stepped back like she'd been caught stealing because she had. Just not in a way the law punishes. But I would. Then I dropped the final bomb. I also spoke to your old client. The one you stopped freelancing for suddenly in March. She stiffened. Turns out, I said, You didn't just stop. You got removed after Mason had a screaming match with you in front of their staff. That's why they never rehired you. Her mouth opened slightly, then shut. I continued, your whole story, the victim act, the suffocated wife, the fairy tale ending with Mason. It's all a house of cards. You just didn't think I'd stop being the quiet one and start pushing back. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just shut down. Finally, she muttered, I don't want this to get ugly. I leaned back. It already is. You just didn't expect me to stop protecting you. I stood up and said one more thing before I left. You always called me the planner, the overthinker, the one who needed control. But you know what? That control is what kept this house running, kept your bills paid, kept you from dealing with consequences. And now that I'm stepping back, you don't know what to do. And I walked out. My friend Marcus was waiting in the car. I sat down and exhaled so hard it felt like I was shedding a second skin. She tried to spin it? He asked. She tried, I said. But I brought the receipts. I spent the weekend locking everything down, moved my paycheck to a new account, updated my emergency contacts, changed every password I've ever had. And then I did something Jenna never expected. I contacted Mason, sent him the receipts, the messages, the mattress, the emails, all of it. No caption, no threats, just the cold truth, wrapped in screenshots. I don't know what happened after that, but I know she tried calling me 13 times that night. I didn't answer. Jenna didn't stop calling for 3 days straight after I sent Mason the screenshots. She even tried reaching out to Marcus, my friend who had nothing to do with any of this, through LinkedIn. Sent some message about wanting to send something over to help clarify things. Clarify what? That she was two-timing me for months while feeding my parents lies? That she was lining up a backup boyfriend and a new place to live while still letting me pay for her food and utilities? I blocked her on everything. I was ready to file for divorce. But then something happened I didn't expect. Mason emailed me. One sentence. Thanks for showing me the truth. She's not staying with me. That's it. That cold, detached, perfect sentence landed harder than any fight I could have picked. She lost her escape hatch, and I guarantee she hadn't planned for both bridges to burn at once. Later that week, my lawyer informed me that Jenna had officially responded to the divorce filing and wasn't contesting a thing. Not the split, not the property, not the debt, nothing. She even requested to keep nothing from the apartment. Not even the espresso machine she once said made mornings bearable. Couldn't believe it. But that wasn't the end. Then came my parents. That Saturday, my dad showed up at my condo. Didn't call first. Just knocked. I didn't want to open it. But I did. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept all week. He stepped in like he was walking into a courtroom and asked to sit. No small talk. Just this. We were wrong. I didn't speak. Then he added, your mother saw the screenshots. Mason's out of the picture. Jenna told her you'd found everything. I still said nothing. Then he leaned in and said what I'd waited years to hear. I think we were always harder on you than we should have been. We thought you'd be the one who needed less. Turned out you were the one carrying everyone. I looked at him and asked one thing. So what do you want now? He paused, then said, nothing, just to say we screwed up, and left. A part of me thought it would feel like justice, like some kind of earned moment, but it didn't. Felt late, expired, like trying to patch a sinking ship after it's already underwater. The next twist? Jenna showed up at my work. Security buzzed me. A woman's downstairs asking for you. I thought it might be a client. Then they said her name. I went down. She was standing outside, holding a bag of what looked like papers. She was thinner, looked exhausted. No makeup, hair tied back. She held out the bag. Just wanted to give you this. Tax docs, receipts, old contracts. I'm not trying anything. I took the bag and said nothing. Then she said something weird. I'm going to be gone for a while. I got a job offer in Denver, starting next month. That caught me off guard. She had spent the last year pretending she couldn't even keep a contract job and now she's moving states? I'm not running to a guy, she added, almost reading my mind. I'm just done being that version of myself. I nodded. And for the first time since everything went to hell, I actually believed her. But I also didn't care. Not in the angry, bitter way. Just detached. Like she was a person I used to know from a job I no longer worked. Before she walked away, she said this. You deserve better. From me. From them. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I'm glad you saw me clearly before you wasted any more time. Then she left. No tears. No hugs. Just left. So what now? That was 3 weeks ago. I sold the apartment. Took a promotion that moved me to a different city. One where no one knows me as Jenna's husband or the quiet son. I haven't spoken to my parents since that day my dad showed up. He tried sending me a message through my aunt, but I let it sit unread. The money I once funneled into helping them? I redirected it to a scholarship fund for kids from strict households who want to pursue careers outside their parents' expectations. Yeah, I'm serious. I started it in my name. And this year, the first kid who grew up under the thumb of people who only cared about structure and obedience will get money to leave and build something of their own. That's the legacy I want now. Not being the guy who paid for his family's groceries while they insulted him behind his back. Not the guy who got used by a partner with an exit plan. But the guy who saw it all, survived it, and made something clean out of the mess. So yeah, it started with a dinner. One ruined meal turned into a divorce, a family cut off, and a full life reset. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me.